Hello, my name is Jim Blackburn, and this is the first hour of a series of programs on ethics and professionalism and mental health studies. The title of this first program is Finding Resilience in Your Life and Your Career. It contains 3 hours. This is the first hour. You get 2 hours of ethics and professionalism and 1 hour of mental health study in it. For paralegals, this may be more ethics hours than you need, but the state bar provides that that's okay. You can take all of your hours as ethics hours if you wish. They don't have to be general hours. There is no actual general hour requirement in the bar, only ethics. For attorneys, you have to have 2 hours of ethics each year, and this satisfies that. And the mental health hour, which is the same thing as the substance abuse hour, which I will do here in this first 3 hour block. During the course of the series of hours, I may ask you several random simple questions. My purpose in that is not to stump you or see if you know the answers so much as to make sure that you're actually watching the program. This is the way I make it interactive and the way I get it approved by the state bar. So if you will bear with me on that, that will help a great deal. I've been doing these programs and speaking for a number of years actually, and in beginning this one, which is new, I'm reminded of an email which I received in early October of this year. It was from my good friend and lawyer and former opponent in the courtroom many years ago, Wade Smith, who's a lawyer, well-known criminal defense lawyer in Raleigh. He was being honored in October by the North Carolina Bar Association for something called the Wade Smith Justice Fund, which is to raise money for legal aid in this state. And he was given the opportunity by the Bar Association to have 2 speakers talk on his behalf at the program where he's being honored. And so he asked me if I would be one of the speakers, and I was very honored and flattered, and of course I agreed to do so. After doing that, he said to me, "Jim, there are a couple of stories that I wish you would tell. We have lots of stories, but there's one in particular that I would wish you would tell. It's the Jimmy Green story." And I remember vividly from the fall of 1983, when Jimmy Green was then the sitting lieutenant governor of North Carolina. Jim Hunt was the governor. And he had been charged in a federal investigation down east, and then in the state investigation, he was under investigation for bribery charges. Well, they were looking for somebody to specially prosecute this case, and it happenstance came that it happened or turned out to be me. And so I worked during the summer and the following fall, September and October, to try this case, and it was really a quick study in how to indict someone and go to trial very quickly. I think he was probably indicted in May or June of that summer, and the trial was in October after we had some motion hearings during the summer. We had a visiting judge from Pilot Mountain come in and hear the case, and it got a lot of notoriety, a lot of attention in the press because of his political position. And so we tried the case starting on a week about mid-October. We ended up, I think it was Halloween night, Halloween Day, which is a Friday, the end of October. The case went 2 weeks. We put on our evidence. They put on theirs. Jimmy Green testified. We made arguments to the jury. We didn't know what would happen. The next morning, Friday morning, the last day of the trial, the judge instructs the jury, which takes 45 minutes to an hour, and then he sends the jury out to deliberate. This was on the third floor courtroom of the Wake County Courthouse. And about 30 minutes after the jury had been out, one of the bailiffs walks up to me and whispers to me and says, "Mr. Blackburn, I have been in the jury room, and while I can't tell you what's going on there, I can tell you that they are laughing a great deal." I said, "They're laughing?" He said, "Yes." I said, "That doesn't sound very good for me." He said, "I don't think so." I said, "Okay, thanks very much. Do me a favor, though." He said, "What?" "Don't let the jury come back until 2 hours have gone by so that I won't be humiliated in the press the following day in the newspaper headlines." He said, "Okay." So I went to find Wade Smith and told him exactly what the bailiff had just said to me. And I then said to him, "What on earth am I going to say to the public?" They had a bank of microphones outside the Wake County Courthouse overlooking Fayetteville Street, and I knew I was going to have to say something if we won or lost, but now it looked like we might lose. I said, "Wade, I've never done this very often, particularly when I've lost, because as you well know, Wade, most prosecutors win their cases. So I'm not familiar with that as much as I should be." He said, "Well, let's go into a little room. They have offices off the courtroom." And so we went into this small room, sat down at a table, a couple of chairs, pulled out a legal pad and a pen, and started writing some sentences. After he was through, he gave the sentences to me, or the page to me, and he said, "What do you think of this?" I looked at it, read it a couple of times, and asked him, I said, "Can I take this sheet?" He said, "Yes, it's yours." So I took it, folded it up, stuck it in my shirt pocket, and went on out the courtroom. Sure enough, after about 2 hours had gone by, the jury knocks on the door and they've got a verdict. It doesn't take long. I think he was indicted on 5 counts, and he was acquitted on all 5 counts. And there was a big commotion, as you might imagine, celebration in the courtroom. It's really a lonely thing to do, to sit there at the counsel table when you've lost a big jury trial. So I got up, and after shaking hands with different people, talking to various folks, walked out of the courtroom into the lobby, down the steps slowly to the lobby of the courthouse, and out the front door where the press was all assembled. And I pulled out the sheet of paper that Wade had given me and read it, and I'm paraphrasing it, of course, years later, but it said something to the effect of, "Today is a great day in North Carolina because a jury of his peers has determined that the lieutenant governor of our state is not guilty of bribery and serious charges." I didn't take any questions, folded my sheet of paper back up and put it in my pocket, and walked away totally and utterly dejected. The next day, the headlines in the papers all across the state trumpeted the fact that Jimmy Green had been acquitted. It was the headline in every major paper in North Carolina across the top of the fold. It was an awful Saturday. I read all the newspapers, wallowed in my defeat, felt really sorry for myself. On Monday or Tuesday, it changed. And suddenly, a number of people called me or wrote me letters or had friends talk with me and say to me what a gracious thing I had done after the jury verdict was returned the previous Friday. What I had said was really classy. All I did was read what someone else had written for me. They were not my original words or even my original thoughts. I told the assembled group at the Bar Association meeting with Wade, sitting there and his family, I said, you know, the truth is I could count on one hand the number of people in this state at that time whom I would have felt free to ask their advice on what to say in such a hotly contested and competitive trial after I'd been beaten pretty badly. And I certainly don't know more than one or two people whom I would have asked their advice if they had been the lawyer on the other side. I don't know where great lawyers learn those traits. I don't know what course in law school or what CLE or what lawyer mentoring program you take where you learn that. I guess it's probably learned from within in your own personal upbringing. And many people have it. You probably have it. We just sometimes get away from it as we're in a competitive environment. But it's smart to go back to it and to be magnanimous when you win. Magnanimous when you win. I just read the other day that is a line that in 1940 Winston Churchill used during the Second World War. Being magnanimous in victory. What a concept. What professionalism. Wouldn't the practice of law as a profession be better if more people did that? Or in any walk of life, not just the legal profession, did that. That's what someone like Wade Smith will be mostly remembered for. Not the money he has made or the cases he has tried or the wins or losses he has had, but for those personal characteristic traits of being magnanimous in victory, which there have been many in his case. I remember another October with Wade. This one was a little bit different. And I also told this to the Bar Association group. It was just 10 short years later. The years had flown by. I had gone from a small law firm with Rick Gammon to being a sole practitioner to a member of a very large law firm with offices in Raleigh, Greensboro, and Charlotte. I was well regarded by my peers and my partners in the law firm, and yet I'd gotten into serious ethical and legal trouble. So much so that in July of 1993, I had been indicted by Wake County grand jury, the same type of grand jury that had indicted Jimmy Green 10 years earlier, during this almost to the date. And so I was in Wade's office this time, not a courtroom room off the main courtroom, talking with him as to what to do and how to handle what was surely coming fast in front of me. I had to make a decision what to do. I was guilty of sin. I hate to say that, but I was. And I wanted probably to plead guilty to end it all, but I of course wanted the best deal I could get. I wanted the least pain there could be. I did not want to go through a fire. I thought I'd already been through a fire that year. I turned in my license to practice law. There'd been stories abounding about me. I was unemployed,